Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick, and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the world of Bitcoin, taking a look at what's been going on the 1 hour time frame, the 1 day time frame, and the weekly time frame from a technical analysis standpoint, jumping into some data and some news around the crypto space, having a look at exchanges, and of course some trades that we've been doing down in our Discord server as well. As we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, what are you waiting for? Check it out. The link for that is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there, so why not go ahead and check it out. Let's jump right down into the video. So let's start things off with our 1 hour time frame. What we're going to do is we're just going to review what's been going on most recently. So here we have a BTC paired up with USDT on the BitGet spot exchange on the 1 hour time frame. Following on from yesterday's video, we're talking about a move to the upside where we're looking to get rejected on that 200 EMA, and it does look exactly like that has occurred. So we have moved up here. We hit the 200 EMA, which was actually a wick high, slightly higher gain, typically to be expected closing below it. This was a high of 29,224. Let's go ahead and do our measurements. It's always good to make sure that we cross-reference and make sure things are aligned to where they need to be. And here you can see that there was the potential to go up higher, more towards the 29,312, but we suspected that the 200 EMA was going to basically be our resistance. For me, it looks like that's a good turning point for us, and we can start to see a little bit of a move to the downside until we break down lower than our B wave here, which does come down at the low of 28,981. Until we break down lower than this, it's still possible we can hit that 29,312. Okay, so I will keep an eye on that, but for now resistance has been met here on the 200 EMA. Now from this 1 hour time frame, we can also note, if I just zoom out of this for a fraction, we are looking for our target range down at 28,093 through to about the higher range of 28,342. Okay, this yellow box area basically down here, this actually completes a 3-wave pattern. Now we've taken a long time to kind of grind out going sideways here, and it's possible that we have already met or already kind of finished this structure off because we've met the minimum expectation, which would have been the A wave peak down here. However, I suspect we still got further to go. It does look pretty weak in terms of momentum. At the moment, momentum is shifting to the oversold area on the hourly chart pretty well. On the 4-hourly chart, it's already overbought. So I suspect we got further to the downside to go here, and it really didn't have much of any kind of movements over the weekend. Very, very weak movements. Essentially, this is pretty typical from a weekend anyway. So as we kind of get into this new week, I think we're going to start to see a little bit more an increase in the volatility here when it comes to the price action of BTC. Now, if I zoom out slightly further here, you can still see that we're in a bearish structure. Okay, if I zoom out actually quite far here, you can see, actually, no, I'll tell a lie, because we do have this change of character here. So we're bearish all the way down to this low point over here. We broke upwards, and we did actually trigger a change of characteristic into a bullish state of play. Okay, so that bullish state of play there is still technically valid. We haven't broken that or changed the characterization into a bearish state of play. However, I think if we were to slip down lower than this low over here, what I will do is I'll put a horizontal line just here at 28,588. If we were to go down lower than that, then we are breaking down to the point where we are likely to see another change of characteristic back into a bearish state of play. So we are temporarily bullish here, but we haven't got confirmation of that. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out over the next kind of few days into weeks and so forth. So let's go ahead and move up into our daily time frame. Okay, so our daily time frame is an interesting one in itself as well. So here we can see I've kind of got no drawings on this one, right? We're looking at the BTC paired up with USDT on the BitGet spot exchange daily time frame. Okay, now here you can see without any kind of drawings to kind of clutter up our charts, you can see that we are basically below our 50 daily EMA, right? And we're struggling here. We're struggling to kind of get above it and stay above it. And as though, therefore, I suspect we are looking to kind of come down, and we are looking to move into the range of the 200 EMA. That's currently $27,100. Now, I suspect that this is going to be a support level for us, and it is still likely to climb up slightly higher here. But is it going to be 28,000? Probably not. So we are looking for a bit of a move to the downside within this range. However, it's not all gloom and doom, right? Because within here, we do see ourselves setting ourselves up with a potential move to the upside. I still suspect we have the potential for that kind of $35,000 level, but it is something that is going to take a little bit longer to kind of play out, right? It's something that's going to take a little bit of time. Now, there's a couple of different ways of kind of drawing on our trend lines. This is why I don't personally like trend lines. Like, they are subjective to the individual who is drawing them, right? And so we need to kind of consider a couple of things when it comes to these, right? The person who's drawing them, how they're drawing them, and all that kind of stuff. Now, as you know, before this wick high over here, we were looking at this being a bit of a move to the downside, like so, and we're looking at this as a break to the upside, right? And we're basically looking at confirming this previous area of resistance into support, right? That's everyone's familiar with that. If we actually connect these two higher peaks, you can still see that we're in this descending triangular wedge, and that means that we are likely to come down to that $28,000 level to test that low line, right? Now, it can be that we break down here, tap in that 200 EMA, basically just to stop out all those long positions, get that big liquidation event before we actually then rally on up, because this is a bullish pattern, right? This is a pattern that is basically looking for a break to the upside. But in order for us to kind of take advantage of that, I suspect we are probably going to liquidate those long positions before we start to see that move to the upside. It wouldn't surprise me anyway. So lower highs and lower lows does have a tendency to want to break upwards. For example, we can see just over here, we are in this series of lower highs, and we have obviously the lower lows, and these do have a tendency to wanting to break on up, right? And we can see this bigger break to the upside here. And so what we've kind of got going on this side, depending on how you want to draw it, is you kind of have lower lows, okay, and you also have lower highs. Okay, now it is descending, it's kind of coming into this apex down here, it's kind of coiling up quite nicely, but essentially we'll be looking for that break to the upside. My personal thoughts though are that we probably slip down, we liquidate, and then we break up, okay? Because breaking upwards wouldn't necessarily be the most profitable for the market movers. So I think essentially, yeah, on the daily time frame, suspect a little bit of volatility here. Now, we are, of course, in an oversold area, as we are in this kind of area of resistance right now. I suspect smaller plays on the smaller time frames to the downside, but ultimately, I think we're kind of gearing up for a bit of a move upwards across the next few weeks or so. Moving over into our weekly time frame, we can see that we have an interesting position here, right? This time we are on Bitcoin paired up with USD and on the Bitstamp weekly time frame. We're using Bitstamp here because it has the most amount of data from the weekly standpoint. So as you can kind of see, connecting all the lows and all the highs across Bitcoin's history here, we can see that actually where we've stopped for reversal isn't too dissimilar to what happened back in 2018. However, we did tap down on this low trend line, right? On this curved trend line at that. Now, if we were to do this, we would mean a new lower low. So, keeping an eye on this. Essentially, the pandemic crash that we saw here wasn't actually terribly too unusual from a analytical point of view, because what can we see here is a three-wave pattern that played out quite beautifully, right? Regardless of pandemic or not. And we did see the typical things as well, right? The lower highs and the lower lows, and we did see a mini break to the upside before this move to the downside, right? And so where we find ourselves right now in this weekly time frame is actually in the bearish positioning, where we are in higher highs and we are in higher lows, and that will have a tendency to want to break on down. Now, I suspect we're testing this low bit before we test the higher range again, and that higher range, I suspect we are likely to find areas of resistance right up into this little range here, and it's actually quite broad, but it does go up towards the $26,000 to $27,000 range, right? You can kind of see this area of resistance here. We can probably give it a little bit more breathing room here to say, maybe $27,500, but essentially that would be where I think this thing is likely to see that reversal. Like I say, we hit that CME gap up at the $34,000 to $35,000 level, right? And then we break on down. Now, moving down into this low trend line, that's going to be an incredibly bearish time for Bitcoin. And there's many different things that could kind of see that play out. I also think there's this housing market issues, there's Fed pivot issues, and then we've got the BlackRock ETF, which a lot of people are assuming is going to get approved right off the bat. But what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't? And, what is that going to do to the Bitcoin price? So I think a lot of people have been FOMOing in, thinking that BlackRock's ETF is likely to a spot ETF is likely to get approved. But what if it doesn't? What if the first application for it gets rejected and you see this as a catalyst for a move to the downside? There's many different reasons why you might see this. You can't just rule it out straight off the bat here. I think it's quite unusual in the patterns at the moment. Now, I do think we have a strong possibility that Bitcoin has bottomed at this point. We do see W, X, Y, X, and Z patterns here on a weekly time frame. However, the moves to the upside are not strong enough. As we can see here, higher highs are great and higher lows are great, but they do have a tendency to want to break on down. Now, the problems that we have here is from an Elliott wave theory point of view, we do not have a trend. There's no 5-wave pattern to be had here. Instead, we just have an overlapping structures, right? And we see this overlap inside here. This is not necessarily a diagonal. It can be, but it doesn't look to be a diagonal. It would have to be a contracting at best, and I can't see that either. So for the most part, it looks to me like this overlapping corrective structure is looking to complete and is looking to move to the downside at some point. Now, also on this weekly time frame, we'll note that our stochastic RSI has progressed upwards. It has actually reversed just a little bit here, so momentum is shifting around just a tad, but we are looking for corrections. Also on the monthly time frame, we're also overbought as well. So you'll keep these things in mind. Let's go ahead and move on over into the world of some data. So when you come over into our membership website, of which, guys, there's a link in the description down below, we do offer a data zone. The data zone contains things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, XRP at the moment, and we're going to be adding a lot more to it. But if I jump on over into the world of the BTC data, I just want to take a look at the liquidations today, right? And what's going on with those liquidations? Are there anything of major concern? As we have some news also around well, we'll get into the news in a second, right? So from a liquidation point of view, what do we see? We see in the last 24 hours, $4 million of liquidations. OKX is the exchange with the most amount of liquidations at $1.96 million. Is this unusual? Not really. OKX has been on the top of this list for quite some time, but they actually reached out to us and explained why this is. And actually, there might be some issues more with certain exchanges withholding information when it comes to their liquidations events. OKX are basically saying that they're 100% transparent. You're seeing everything, which is why their liquidations seem higher than others. Obviously, we can't back up that because we do not know what the other exchanges are not doing, what they're including in their API calls and what they're not including in their API calls. However, I wouldn't be surprised if people are fudging their numbers. Okay, so it is what it is. So OKX being at the top here, it doesn't always happen, but it happens occasionally. And we've actually spoken to the team about why that is. And yeah, I take it for what it is. So yeah, we can see that 35.26% of long positions are being liquidated or have been liquidated. And 64.74% of short positions have been liquidated. Now, this is unusual. This is unusual because, obviously, as we were taking a look at the charts a moment ago, price action got rejected on that 200 EMA and price started to slip down. That would actually support the idea of short positions. Now, of course, the short positions may have been entered too early and therefore they got liquidated. These are also possibilities. But for the most part, I would say that, we should have actually seen more long positions getting liquidated in the last 24 hours than short positions. But they is what it is, and it looks like long positions are holding out for now. So as I said earlier, right, OKX is a total of 41% of all liquidations. Binance is 33%. 𝗗𝗄𝘀 is 9.63%, and everything else from there really kind of just boils down into nothingness. But that brings me on to the news element of what's going on, right? Because we take a look at this, 𝗗𝗄𝘀's TVL drops to 2.5 billion amid rumors of insolvency, right? Investigations in China. So it's some interesting things. Now, I don't have any more information outside of what you guys probably already know, and it's over Twitter and on Cointelegraph here. But there are rumors, and again, these have not been backed up yet, that 𝗗𝗄𝘀 is insolvent. And as such, you're seeing a bit of panic going on there that compounds this issue, because the more withdrawals there are, then obviously the more issues there are going to be with that. That being said, though, you got to make sure that you got to protect yourself. If you're on 𝗗𝗀, make sure you're not on 𝗗𝗀 for too long, because you do not know whether or not these rumors are true or not. So, with that, we see, well, typically what we saw with FTX and how we were able to spot FTX ahead of time was using the liquidation data. We were looking at liquidation data, and FTX was at the top of the list, and not by a small amount. It was like 85% of all liquidations were FTX, right? And it was abnormal, right? And that was happening a week before everything kind of happened. So we were saying we should probably get off FTX. We should probably think about why they're doing this. Are they in financial trouble and so forth? And maybe we should short FTT and short Solana, right? And so our community made some really significant gains during all of that debacle with the FTX saga, right? And so what we're seeing here is 𝗕𝗘𝗪 in third spot. Now that is a little unusual for 𝗕𝗘𝗪, is a little bit on the higher X side of things, but it isn't exactly up there at the top, right? And so when we take a look at these, it's a little bit different to how we saw FTX. When FTX were going through all of their financial worries, they were liquidating a lot of people to try to kind of cover up those losses. As such, I think I saw on one particular day $850 million of liquidations, right? And so we are in a slightly different territory here. Now, it's possible that there are some higher than usual liquidations, but I wouldn't say that it's actually all that unusual from what we would normally typically see from 𝗕𝗘𝗪's liquidation point of view. Now, the total value lot dropping, obviously this is going to happen during these rumors of insolvency, is going to have that kind of impact on the space. So we need to be a little bit cautious with that at times, but for the most part, nothing terribly too unusual, I don't think. We'll have to wait and see how this goes on, but obviously protect ourselves, make sure that we are not exposed to 𝗕𝗘𝗪 for now, and we'll see how that one kind of goes. Moving over though, we'll take a look at exchanges, right? Because obviously, as you guys know, we're really big on BitGet. I use BitGet as my kind of go-to platform. Use it 90 to 95% of my spot buys, and 100% of my leverage trades are on BitGet. Now, in terms of exchanges, obviously not on 𝗕𝗪𝗪, not going to be on 𝗕𝗪𝗪, so I haven't got any exposure to that, and maybe you guys want to limit your exposure to that until things are a little bit clearer whether or not they are insolvent or not. In terms of exchanges though, I still have and still like to use Binance. Not too fussed with that one. I still use it from time to time. Coinbase as well. What else? I mean, Gate.io, I use it only if I have to, but I do have exposure to that one. And same with KuCoin. But for the most part, I like to make sure I have exposure to as many different cryptocurrencies as cryptocurrency exchanges as possible, because you just do not know which ones are going to be around when you need them to be, which ones are going to be potentially more riskier than others at times, whether you can log on or not. And so therefore, at the moment, I land on BitGet being my kind of go-to platform. It's very well put together. It's a great and self-intuitive platform as well. And if you do use the affiliate link in the description below to sign up to BitGet, you are eligible up to $8,000 in deposit rewards in terms of how much you deposit and trade on the platform. Now, if you also use that affiliate link and join us in Discord, then you'll also be able to take advantage of some of the things that we do down in the Discord server. We have weekly trading competitions using the affiliate link in the description below. That's not affiliated with BitGet. That's not affiliated with YouTube. That's something that we do, Chris and myself, for our Discord community. So why not check it out? The link to BitGet is down in the description below. Sign up. What have you got to lose? Just make sure you have exposure to as many of these cryptocurrency exchanges as you possibly can. It's a great strategy, because in the bull market you just do not know whether you're going to be able to log on to your favorite exchanges, and hell, BitGet might become your favorite like it has become mine as well. Let's move on over though, because our community have been absolutely killing it when it comes to the trades. And so what we can do here is we just jump down into our Discord server. We do have an area here where people can share their kind of slips and things. You'll notice that obviously most of the community are fantastic on BitGet, and for good reason. We've been, it's really been down to JB at the moment, because I've been a bit busy, but Cheeky JB, who you may know from the podcast channel and down in the Discord server, has been absolutely running some fantastic trades on Matic recently. And so what we can do here is we can see some of the fantastic things that have been going on in the Discord server. So as you can see here, BitGet, and we've been shorting Matic, 82% there on that one from JB. As you can kind of see, as we kind of scroll through some of these, VeChain shorting going on at 129%. Some small wins as well, so it's not always like 10s, 20s, 50s, 80s, or even hundreds of percent. Sometimes there's some small wins in there as well. Matic being shorted, there's a couple of actually interesting things with the Matic. Matic has been trading quite nicely in terms of both going short and going long. long. The structures for Matic have been very, very nice, and they've allowed us to kind of trade them in and out quite nicely. As you can kind of see here, even an XRP short has been achieved. So I think from a trading point of view, BitGet's been quite a bit of a blessing for that. It's been able to kind of get the community rallied up and actually making some pretty significant gains on the volatility that we see within the crypto market. But guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and leave the video right there. If you have found this useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, guys, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.